We just finished a trip of over 3,300 miles, and this is the first time that we have towed our 2025 Alliance Avenue 32 RLS with our 2021 Chevy Silverado 3500 since we upgraded to the Timbren Suspension Enhancement System. And today I'm going to share with you, was it worth it and how did we like it? And we're going to start right now. Welcome back, everyone. If you're new to our channel, thank you for stopping by. My name's Patrick. We have been RVing now for 20 plus years. Just recently, my wife and I retired from our 26 plus year careers in teaching, and we sold our house back in February to move into our Alliance fifth wheel full time. Now, I manage Happy Acres Campground in Northeast Indiana 7 months out of the year. But recently we closed the campground down for the winter and we hit the road, took a trip to Florida, back up to Kentucky for the National Campground Convention, and finally made our way down here to Texas where we're going to be spending the winter. Now, if you follow our channel, you know that back in July, we installed the Timbren Suspension Enhancement System on this 2021 new to us Chevy Silverado 3500 HD diesel. And a lot of people said, Patrick, do you really need suspension enhancement on a 1-ton truck, especially when you're towing a trailer that maxes out at 14,000 pounds? And honestly, I think we did. And we're going to talk about that in this video. Now, back in July, I released a video where we actually installed the Timbrens on our truck. And I'm going to go ahead and link that video at the end of this video in case you didn't see it and you want to see how easy it is to install the Timbrens. Now, Timbren did send us those at no charge, and I always want to be honest and transparent up front about that. But in that first video, I did point out that years ago, we installed the Timbrens that we paid for on our 4Runner, and at the time we were pulling a NuCamp T B 400. Now, we were thinking we needed either a weight distribution hitch or maybe even airbags back then. And we were sold the Timbren Suspension Enhancement System with the understanding that if we didn't like it, where they were installed, they would take them off and put on airbags. And you know what? We never took them off. Absolutely loved what they did. Not only when we were towing our Tab 400, but just when we were driving our 4Runner around on a daily basis. And I found the same thing to be true with them installed here on the Chevy Silverado 3500. When this thing is not towing, it tends to be just a little stiff and a little rough when you hit potholes and bumps in the road. But once we got the Timbrens put on, we noticed it really smoothed things out. And that's because if we go back here to the back of the truck, right up under here, we ended up removing the bump stops that came from the manufacturer, and they left a really large gap between them and the point where they would hit. But with the Timbren Suspension Enhancement System, what it does is it gives you a lot more, and therefore the space is much more minimal. And you can see that because there's not much of a gap. So the minute you start to bounce, it's going to stop you. The other thing is the way those are designed, they're designed to compress, and they work when the more load you put in them, the better they're going to do with that compression. They're just a really good system. Now, I will tell you, I did have trucks in the past that had airbags, and airbags are great. I'm not going to say they're not. Number one, they require some maintenance. You've always got to keep some air in them. You're always adjusting your air levels based upon the load. But with these things are maintenance free and they are durable. I never had to replace them on the 4Runner. I mean, they're just a good product. You kind of just install them and you forget about them and let them do their job. The other thing is I love about Timbren, they give you a 100-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like them, they're going to take care of you. So what we did on this trip is I set up a GoPro under the truck so that you could see exactly what was happening. Now, when we initially hitched up our fifth wheel, which comes in with about a 3,200 pound pin weight, this thing is super heavy on the pin. You'll notice in the video that I've overlaid that there wasn't much gap to start with, but as it comes down with that pin into the bed of the truck, it closes up and it really supports it right there. And I tell you what, I was impressed by that. Then we started out onto the highway, and what I noticed was it just helped the truck overall ride smoother. Again, it's really helping to cushion along with the suspension of the 1-ton truck, making for a smoother ride all along. What I love about this is if you're hauling a travel trailer like we used to with our Tab 400, not only does it help with the squat of your truck, helping to keep the rear of your tow vehicle, your truck, a little bit higher, that ultimately helps you in controlling and eliminates some of that sway that you get traditionally with a travel trailer. Now, fifth wheels, I've never really known sway because you hook up in the bed of your truck. It just really helps with control. But again, putting the Timbrens on not only made for a smoother ride, but I really truly believe that it does help with the overall control of the trailer with the truck attached to it. Now on this trip, we hit a few patches of interstate highway that were rough from the winter conditions, meaning lots of potholes, and sometimes you just cannot see them with all of the heavy traffic and going at the higher speeds. But what I found was towing with the Timbrens versus without the Timbrens was it just gave us a much smoother bounce as we would glide over those rough conditions. And the real proof was when we would stop and go inside the trailer. You could tell that the suspension on the truck was helping to keep the fifth wheel steady as it went over as well. And honestly, it was just a very smooth, comfortable ride. 3,300 miles up and down interstate highways, and it really towed great. The other thing was we noticed that before we put the Timbrens on, the truck did have a little bit of squat, mainly because this is such a heavy pin weight. But after we put the Timbrens on, you could see a definite decrease in the amount of squat, which made for a very level tow for us. And when you're level, it just means you're gonna have more control and it's going to pull easier for you. Now, I paid to get that first set put on at a truck shop way back in 2019 on our 4Runner. But with this set, we actually installed them ourselves. And that's one of the things I love about this Timbren product is you don't have to have a lot of skills to be able to install it yourself. Me, along with my friend Mike and Bill, we were able to pull this right into the shop there at Happy Acres Campground, easily remove the OEM bump stops, and then just went ahead and slid in the bump stops on the Chevy because that's how they attach. They just literally slide into place, and that was it. And so I love the ease of installation. It's more affordable typically than using airbags, and like I said, they're maintenance free. So would I do it all over again, and would I pay for these myself? Absolutely. I have been a big fan of Timbren Suspension Enhancement System for years, and I'm really glad that we have it on this, even though we have this 14,000 pound RV with this big 1-ton Chevy. It just helps take your ride to the next level. And I want to again thank Timbren for allowing us the opportunity to put them on here, try them out, and just remember what a great product they actually were. If you've ever ran the Timbren Suspension Enhancement System, I want to hear about it down in the comments. Till next time, everybody, we'll see you on down the road. Bye.
Travels with the lady, we'll see you on down the road.